Hello and welcome to another episode of the Popcorn Conspiracy. I'm Dave G, and joining me right now is my co-host.
Hello everybody, I'm Kyle.
And today we're going to be taking a look at a movie that if you want to go and see it, you're going to have to go and see it very, very quick because it only lasts in cinemas until next Thursday. That's because it's a special event film. It is called Studio 666, and it's been put together by legendary grunge rock group the Foo Fighters. Now, they are the stars of this movie, but this movie goes a little bit further than that. It's from director B.J. McDonnell, and this is basically a horror movie where the studio, or the mansion that's a studio that the Foo Fighters go to record at, has a dark past that soon comes back, and soon members of the Fooies are dropping off like flies. So we'll probably talk more about the storyline as we talk about the film itself. But mate, I know you're probably not as big a Foo Fighters fan as what I am, but what were your thoughts on Studio 666?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, as you say, I'm not a gigantic Foo Fighters fan as others. I recognise Dave Grohl, of course, and the other members of the band. And I do like their music, but I've seen them once in concert, but that was mainly because I wanted to see Tenacious D, who was opening for them. And but like I do like them. And at first, when I saw the trailer for this film, I thought it was just going to be like a one of those precursor short films for like a recording of a live show that they were putting out.
Yeah,
I thought it was just going to be like some kind of short movie at the start of something, but then I found out no, it's an actual feature-length film, and I got to say I'm impressed that they managed to carry this idea for the entire film. Like, it's kind of a novelty movie, but they've managed to carry it for an entire film, and it actually works so well as both a horror film and as a comedy. I think it is getting a lot of hate, like from some other critics, because I don't think that they really get that it is a novelty film, that's it. But at the same time, I do think that they did a very good job with it, and especially compared to other movies of this type where like bands get together, they decide, or like musicians get together and decide that they want to make some kind of an ego picture. I think compared to that, it blows them all away. I actually really enjoyed it, and I was laughing all the way through it. What did you think of it, David?
Yeah, it feels funny that so many critics out there seem to just hate on a film if it has like a really strong link to music. I remember a few years ago when Metallica did their Beyond the Invisible film, and the hate for that was the same, and it was like, come on, that's one of the most creative concert movies I have ever seen, where basically Metallica's playing a concert while Armageddon is happening outside of the arena, and their crew member that they've sent out to go and get stuff gets caught up in the middle of it. And I thought it was really creative and worked really, really well. It was better than just a band bringing out a hey guys, why don't you pay $25 and go to the cinema to watch a concert. It was like, no, it had a narrative and it was creative, but critics hated it, and it seems like the same is happening with Studio 666. Having said that, though, a lot of really in-depth movie critics don't like schlock horror either. So there's a very, very select few critics that actually ask for media passes to go to Monster Fest every year here in Melbourne, and I think that doesn't help the cause here either. Not only is this a film that centers around a band, but it's also schlock horror. I mean, I'm not going to name any names because I don't want to put anybody in the crap, but I know a bunch of critics recently who refused their invite to Wormwood Apocalypse, simply because they watched the trailer and went, yeah, no, that's not for me. Now, I kind of find that kind of view from a film critic kind of offensive in a way, because I think as a film critic, you should be able to go along and watch any kind of film and judge the film on its own merit. Does it do what it's set out to do, kind of thing? And yeah, I find it really kind of funny when critics go, yeah, no, I'm not going to go see that movie because it's not my kind of film. Sorry, but if you're a film critic, you're supposed to be open to everything.
Yeah. That's and I loved Wormwood. You know, like that is the thing. You've got to. I think very few people, I believe, have a love of movies and film. I think they have a love of what they specifically think movies and films should be.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of a problem. And when you sit down and watch a movie like this, which I think hits all the right beats, it does. It like, how could this movie have made them? How could this movie have worked for them? It just simply couldn't, because they don't like the genre and they don't like the idea that it's a musical band like that. It's a musical band tied into a movie. You know, it's just there's really nothing that they could have done to make it work. But the last type of movie that I can think of with some that was kind of like this was the Tenacious D in The Pick of Destiny, which I think kind of fell flat. I mean, I liked it, but I mean, even as a huge fan of Tenacious D myself, it didn't really grab me, and like some of the jokes weren't there, and it probably should have come out like 2 years before it did to really take hold of the popularity of Tenacious D. But it's amusing because of the connection. I think Dave Grohl is actually in that, and there's a whole connection between Tenacious D and Dave Grohl. To be honest, I am kind of surprised that Jack Black didn't appear in this in some capacity as a cameo. Just I kind of assumed that he would show up right at the end or something. But but it never really comes off as an ego picture either. Like there's self-depreciation humor all the way through it, and the characters, they don't, like the bandmate, they are playing themselves, and they don't come off as cool or great the entire thing. It's not just like characters blowing smoke up their ass the whole time. Like, the story is actually there and ties into the fact that the band has been around for so long, and like they have so many hit songs that there would be some degree of maybe writer's block and even some animosity between bandmates. Like, I think that it really worked really well. Like, the actual story of the film really worked really well, and it would have suited for even a movie that wasn't starring a real life like superstar rock band. You know?
Yeah, I also like the fact that they didn't use their greatest hits. Like, it's not a film where all of a sudden it's like, hey, let's do a scene and now let's play Alandria, or let's do a scene and now let's play that. In fact, the only time that any of their big hits even get mentioned in this film is as a gag when Dave Grohl's like showing that he's got writer's block and he goes, hey guys, I've got a riff, and they're like, that's from our song Everlong. Like, it's a great riff, but we've already done that. Like, there was little bits like that, and I kind of liked that because in a sense, I was expecting this to kind of be a film glorifying the Foo Fighters' career, or
even just to sell an album.
Yeah. But like, even some of the music that features in this film has been put together by Steve Vai. So it's like, it's not even a film where the band are trying to glorify themselves or the filmmaker is trying to sell their new album or anything like that. It's just, it's so different to what I expected. And as you said, I thought that the comedy horror part of this actually works really, really well. Like, it goes into some of those classic comedy horrors that you and I have loved over the years. Not the bad ones that we haven't liked, the ones that we've actually really, really liked, like Dale and Tucker versus Evil and stuff like that. And I was trying to think of the one that Elijah Wood made a few years ago, where he was a teacher and all the kids like suddenly become possessed.
Cooties?
Yeah, like ones like that have actually worked really, really well.
Yeah, that's again the as you say, the music. I believe there's only 2 Foo Fighters songs in this. One of them is, I guess, the title track off the new album, which I don't think gets played properly until the end credits.
Yep.
There's a part right in the middle where they're working on the song. Of course, they're going to be playing musical instruments the entire time. There's kind of a montage in the middle of the movie where they're working on a song, And I was fully expecting that to turn into a music video, like them working on this song and then start singing. And there's no lyrics.
Yep.
They're just working on the actual song. So it's like the Foo Fighters' actual music takes backseat to the story that they're trying to tell with the movie, which was like impressive. I don't even believe the Foo Fighters themselves had really worked on the opening theme of the music. That's more of a
John Carpenter.
It's more of a John Carpenter song. It has John Carpenter doing it, which I thought, wow, this actually really sounds like something from Halloween, and then John Carpenter's name comes up, and that's something I've got to say with the director. So I actually forgot it, B.J. McDonnell.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's the only other, I believe, horror film he's worked on was Hatchet 3 a few years ago, and he's mostly a music video director, but he really managed to recreate that authentic feel of the 70s and 80s slasher movies, like, throughout the entire film. Like, there's the way it's edited, the way it's put together. I thought he did a better job with the serious moments of the film than the filmmakers that have actually made the last few Halloween or the last few slasher movies. I think he actually pulled it together a lot better than they did. Like, the characters of the band members, the fact that there's 6 members of the band, of course Dave Grohl is the frontman, but they actually work really well for as you say, like characters that would be in this type of a horror film. There's the front man, obviously, and Dave Grohl has the most dialogue and the story and the most character, but the other members of the band fit really well into their specific roles. Like, there's the goofy one, there's an angry one, there's one that's a ladies' man. And, I to be honest, I was impressed by Dave. We were both talking about it. I was impressed by Dave Grohl's ability as an actor.
Yeah.
I know he's done other little things here and there. He was in Bill and Ted Face the Music last year, I believe. But he's only had like really small things like that I've seen him before, and I thought he was actually pretty good here. I thought he was decent early on in the movie, but then like as he's starting to become a bit corrupted, a little bit possessed, he was legitimately creepy.
Yeah.
How he looked and how he behaved and how he was talking to everybody.
It was actually funny because when I was watching him, I was thinking, man, he would play Charles Manson really well. If they ever did a full-on horror movie of Charles Manson and they needed a Charles Manson, Dave Grohl would actually play that role pretty well. And I was going to say, they didn't take it easy on the band members either. Like, you would expect sometimes in a movie like this that the band members would be kind of given, like, easy things to do in the film. But like you said, Dave Grohl goes through a whole Shining experience in this film and becomes possessed. And even, like, the band members that don't really like the spotlight, like Pat Smear, he gets some really memorable scenes, like, especially they play up the fact that, like, the Foo Fighters and they're linked to Doritos. Pat Smear's eating Doritos a lot, and there's a few gags about that. But I was reading that the one thing that Taylor Hawkins struggled with was learning lines, and he said, look, I don't think I can learn lines. It's not something I've ever been able to do. I mean, as a drummer, he doesn't even have to remember lyrics. So he actually went to them and said, hey, do you mind if I ad-lib my lines? Well, ad-libbing is actually a lot harder for a lot of actors than learning lines. So he's actually gone the hard way about it, but done it really, really well. The other thing I wanted to point out too was the creative kills. If anyone thinks that this is a movie where nobody really took it seriously and they just mirrored things that they've seen in other horror movies, the kills here are so creative with the way that they go about doing things, especially Taylor's death. But there's some really, really good creative kills here as well.
Yeah, like these type of horror slasher movies are all about the gore, and this movie, when it gets going, it has it by the bucket load. Like, there's heaps of creative and funny deaths, which were both gruesome, but also laugh out loud. Like, the audience loved that one that you were talking about. They broke out loud, like, just
the chainsaw one was pretty good too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that one as well. Yeah. See, yeah, it was exactly what people that love these types of movies go to see these types of movies for. The only criticism that I would have was maybe that there could have been a bit of gore earlier in the film. I mean, once it gets started, it comes in waves, but there was a little bit there in the middle where I felt like they maybe could have done with an extra kill just to keep the gore lover in me interested.
Yeah.
But again, having said that, the movie is put together so well by B.J. McDonald's ability to recreate that authentic feel that it never really, it didn't feel like, okay, come on, can we get to the killing? It was just something like, once the gore gets started about halfway, it's like it kind of becomes like a different type of movie.
Yeah.
And I just felt like maybe that a little bit early on would have been. It would have just been great to have a little bit of blood earlier on, but I guess, like I said, this is a movie where they're not just throwing gore at you; they are actually trying to tell a story as well. Like they actually are trying to put together a decent film.
Yeah, I'd really love to see cinemas like the Astor or Cinema Nova put this film back on Halloween and have a Dorito and ranch sauce night, like. While people are watching the film, because this film has got cult film put all over it. Like, I was thinking about it before. This is a movie that may have started off as a project for a band, but this is the kind of film that I get the feeling is going to become a cult classic, not only with music fans, but also horror fans, because you think of movies like Yellow Submarine and that with the Beatles. Those films have become cult classics over the years. I think this film is going to become a cult classic as well.
Yeah, it's in its own right. It's a really entertaining movie. I'm going to go try to see it. It's only out for 1 week, sadly.
Yep.
In cinemas, I'm going to try to get into the cinemas to see it again, just to show my love for it. As you say, I really hope that. I know it is playing at the Astor at the moment. I really hope that they have special screenings of it in the future, because it's a movie that I think it deserves to be seen in a cinema in the same way that say Grindhouse or those kind of movies deserve to be seen in a cinema by a full audience.
Yeah. So I guess to wrap up, what are you going to give this one out of 5?
I'm going to give this 4 out of 5. I know it's weird, like comparing this to other movies that I've given 4 out of 5 to, but just as a slasher movie, as a comedy, and just I guess as a music kind of an ego piece, like it was really enjoyable. I really had a lot of fun watching this movie. I was never bored, and that's coming from someone who, like I said, I'm not even that huge of a fan of the Foo Fighters, and yet I love this movie so much. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, I'm giving it 4 out of 5 as well. I am a huge Foo Fighters fan. I love what this movie has done for them, with them. I thought it was very different to what I expected, but I thought they came through really, really well. But I also love schlock horror, and I loved the horror aspect of this. Like you said, I think I would have loved this movie even if it didn't have the Foo Fighters in it. If it had just been actors playing a random band, I think I still would have liked it the same way, because it kind of has that feeling of a movie like Cut, which is a film that I love. It kind of has that feeling to it. I love the 70s and 80s vibe that it has, especially with some of the special effects that, without spoiling anything, at one point somebody gets electrocuted, and the special effects are very 70s and 80s, but I think that only further enhances the film itself in a way, so I can't wait to go and see it as well. And that's it for this episode of the Popcorn Conspiracy. We both gave Studio 666 4 out of 5 stars. grab your Doritos, grab your ranch sauce, go and check this out in cinemas, because this is one horror film that you do not want to miss. But for now, I've been Dave G.
And I've been Kyle.
And we'll be back soon with another episode of The Popcorn Conspiracy.